What is up, guys? My name is DJ Rick Web, as always, and like I said, today we're going to be discussing the difference between this XLR cable and this DMX cable. First off, if you've not checked out DJ Life Clothing, DJ Life Clothing is the... Wait. This is a Canal Sound and Light shirt. This is not DJ Life Clothing. Let's change that. There we go. DJ Life Clothing. This one says your girlfriend's favorite DJ. If you guys don't know already, DJ Life Clothing is the clothing company that I started for basically DJ related t-shirts, because I wanted t-shirts out there that represented DJs. These are shirts that basically you can wear to school, you can wear around your campus, you can wear it when you're going out and doing groceries. That way people know you're a DJ. Because people be hating on the DJs and they don't know who they are. So you need to rep who you are. You're a DJ, get DJ Life Clothing. Check it out. Links right there. One of those two. Anyways, XLR cables versus DMX cables. XLR, you use it for audio. DMX, you use it for lighting, DMXing. That's all you need to know. There you go. Okay, in all seriousness now, everyone knows that. Everyone knows that you're supposed to use audio cables for audio. You're supposed to use DMX for DMX. But why? That's what we're going to talk about. To understand the difference between these two cables, we need to understand what they're being used for. First off, we have audio, and second off, we have lighting or DMX. Shown by the chart right here, audio is an analog signal. It goes up, down, up, down, up, down. DMX is a digital signal, basically meaning 0 or 1, 0 or 1, 0 or 1. In nerd talk, as you are transmitting signal down your cable, that is your voltage. Your voltage is fluctuating in terms of analog. It's going up and down throughout the cycle of the analog signal. In digital, it's either positive voltage, zero voltage, positive voltage, zero voltage. That is what gets you your ones and your zeros. Why do you need to know that though? Because that's when we start talking about interference. As we learned in cable episode 2, not all XLR cables are made the same. What makes them different for the most part, and why some cost more than others, is the amount of shielding that they put into these cables. Your shielding is directly tied to the impedance of the cable. What does that mean though? It basically means how easy it is to interrupt that cable, how easy it is to interrupt that signal, cause static, cause differences. In terms of impedance, because of that randomness of the amount of shielding that they're using in XLRs, can be anywhere from 40 ohms impedance all the way up to 100 ohms impedance. Now the higher of impedance in terms of ohms, the less susceptible, I can't speak that word really well, the cable will be to noise and interference. The average DMX cable normally has an impedance of around 100 to 120 ohms. Basically meaning less susceptible to interference. Now let's go back to analog versus digital. You would think you want a really high noise reduction on all your cables, your XLR and your DMX, and you're basically right. So why do XLR cables have a lower impedance normally than DMX cables? And that goes back to the type of signal they're designed to transmit. Analog and digital. An analog signal fluctuates constantly. It's up, down, left, right, you know it's up and down. It fluctuates. It's different. It is less susceptible to a change. If noise happens and an analog signal gets modified a little bit, the signal is not completely ruined. A DMX signal on the other side is, like I said, 0 or 1, or true or false. If you just slightly alter the number, basically the voltage that's coming through a DMX cable, because of rounding and how computers handle voltage signals, it can take that signal, and if noise happens, that 1 can get flipped to a 0, that true can get turned to a false. Basically meaning your lighting can go from being on a dim to full brightness because a wrong signal got transmitted, a wrong 1 got changed to a 0 got turned to a 1 along the chain of the signal. And that is why DMX cables have a higher impedance. So now you should be able to understand why a digital signal, you require a cable with a higher impedance, because in general it is easier to alter a digital signal with noise than it is to alter an analog signal. So the million-dollar question is, can you use one versus the other? And the shorter answer is kinda. In general, if you're using digital DMX signal, you should use a DMX cable. If you're using audio, you should use an XLR cable. Bar none. That's all you need to know. But for the sake of, if you're in a pinch, you don't have the option, and something goes wrong, you need to replace one with the other, here's what you should know. In terms of DMX cables, if you need a short run, say maybe 10 feet or less, you can use an XLR cable. You can get away with it. You do run the risk of, like I said, noise interfering with that command and messing up the DMX signal, causing your lights to basically do all kinds of random stuff. And in general, using only XLR cables instead of DMX cables, you can eventually, potentially, damage that fixture. Because if the wrong signal gets sent to that light too many times, I can't really explain it because it's computer based, it's computers, you can mess up that computer. So overall, you should try and use DMX cables. But if you're in a pinch, less than 10 feet, I would literally probably go maybe even saying less than 5 feet, maybe like 2 or 3 feet, you can use an XLR cable. You can get away with it. Try to make sure you're using the higher end XLR cables, as we found the XLR cable. Some of these have the worst, like, no shielding at all in the world. Okay, so let's reverse that and say, for some reason, you're out of XLR cables and all you have is DMX cables. You can actually use a DMX cable in place of an XLR cable. Like we said, this cable is not really designed to handle analog signal, but it can handle analog signal, and it's got plenty of shielding. So if you're completely lost and wondering why doesn't everyone just use DMX cables for everything, it's because of cost. DMX cables cost a heck of a lot more than XLR cables. That's why you never really see that topic brought up. You always see the topic brought up of if you can use XLR for DMX. You never see it the opposite way around. So that was the long and nerdy talk of the difference between a DMX cable and an XLR cable. Basically all you need to know is don't use DMX for XLR and don't use XLR for DMX unless you're in a pinch. Rule of thumb, guys. So leave down in the comment section down below if you thought this video was helpful, if you learned something. I tried to make it as detailed but as simple as possible. So it's possible that I misinterpreted or missaid something. You guys will probably correct me down in the comment section below, you guys that are really far beyond me in terms of specs and stuff like that. But I just tried to make a quick, nerdy, but in general discussion so that this video wasn't an hour long, because more than likely we could talk here for an hour long about Ohm's law and basically everything to do with cables and how you can, yeah, you know. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up for DMX and for XLR cables, because they're expensive cables, but we have to buy them because we're DJs and we need cables, because nothing works unless you have cables, unless you're going completely wireless, because that's something nowadays that people are trying to do. And if you are not already subscribed to this channel, be sure to click that subscribe button. That way you can catch up on all the previous videos as well as see all the new videos that are coming out, such as the 4th episode of the cable series video, where we finally get rid of and stop talking about XLR and DMX, and we finally start talking about power cables, basically everything you need to know about power cables, amperage, breakers, all that fun stuff. It's going to be coming in episode 4, so stay tuned for that episode. Like always, my name is DJ Rick Web. Go buy some DJ Life clothing. That way I actually have money to make these videos. And keep them records spinning, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.